David. I'll let you introduce our speaker in a few moments once I make some general. I should? Okay. We're very informal here. I want you to know that you think you're in the third row, you're actually in the first row. It's a matter of mind over matter. The Men-to-Men group meets monthly. Each time we have a different topic. We hope that you've been receiving your flyers in the mail, have you? We call it snail mail. So everybody has been on our list and we're good to go on that. Our speaker today is speaking from the field of integrative medicine. He'll touch upon dietary issues and some things that are on your mind so that he'll have a presentation, and the usual format is that's followed by a question and answer period. Our next talk will be on March 21st, thereafter April 18th, and then May 16th before the final break. Next time on March 21st, always Monday at 2, the topic will be on prostate cancer and sexuality with Dr. Sam Smith, who at one time was on our board and is an outstanding doctor, kind of retired. I guess you never retire once you're a doctor, but he'll be able to talk from firsthand experience himself as a prostate cancer survivor, and also from the field, as the saying goes, the research, and again, answering questions that are on your minds. Following topic in April is male lumpectomy. I can hardly say it. And the last one will be battle for survival. I hope you particularly can come on the 16th of May, the final session, not only because it's final, but we have two very fine journalists who've gone through prostate cancer, have written about it in the local papers, and can articulate things that are very much not only on their minds, but your minds as well. So again, that's going to be on May 16th, with sexuality being the next topic a month from now. I think that one of the things we discussed, and we always have an executive committee and a lunch bunch before this hour of 2 o'clock once a month. One of the things our board discussed is the need for reinforcements, which is to say, if some of you here might like to be part of the selection of topic process, kind of awkward way to put it, for the fall, we're going to start thinking about that at our next executive committee meeting for this group, Men to Men. At any rate, you're always invited to come for the 12:30 lunch, but it's not on the house. Just got to make sure you know that. We're outside the exit of the 4th floor cafeteria, and in that conference room AB, we have a 12:30 meeting and discussion of things germane to our organization and to your own personal needs. So you're always welcome to come at 12:30 or by 1 o'clock as we sit down and discuss such matters, and actually be part of the decision-making process as to what topics are of utmost urgency for you as you continue your journey through this prostate cancer process. Both for yourselves and your spouse, we're glad that at least one of the distaff members is here. Women are always welcome, even though some people think this is a, pardon the expression, touchy topic. Please consider this an open house. Finally, I want to thank our Health Connections folks for making this the second meeting here as opposed to the more amorphous auditorium down the way where people kind of get lost in the shuffle. Here, there's, I think, a greater, more informal sense of things where we can talk out loud and be heard and also feel a little bit more closely knit. With that, I'm going to, now that everybody's arrived, perfect timing, we're going to introduce today's speaker. His name is Dr. Fred Harvey. He's the man in the tie. The only person who's properly dressed today, I guess you want to say it that way. Somebody thought I was a speaker because of the resemblance, you know, but that's not the case. He is the expert in integrative medicine. He has, he's board certified in internal medicine, geriatrics, and holistic medicine. And he has a center. I hope you talk about a little bit about integrative medicine and your particular location, because I think that's of general interest for us. I want to make the point, and then I'll let you carry on, that a lot of times we focus on prostate cancer, in fact, forget that the first and foremost thing is our own generalized well-being, and that we should consider the bigger picture, which I think we'll get the opportunity today. And now we have Dr. Harvey.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, folks, for being here. It's great to see a lot of people interested in health. I don't bite. There's a whole row up here. It's empty. So a little about me. I am a general internist by my initial training and certification. I went to my first holistic medical conference when I was a sophomore in medical school, though. And really, there wasn't a lot of activity in that at that time, and we didn't have an internet, and I kind of lost touch with those people after 1982 for many, many years thereafter, until I met a guy named Dr. David Perlmutter, who practiced down in Naples. He's a neurologist who's pioneering new methods of brain care. You might have seen him on PBS. But he reintroduced me to the Holistic Medical Association and the ACAM, American College for Advancement in Medicine, the people who have studied and utilized chelation therapy for vascular disease for years. In about 1989, I met a guy named Eugene who had a balloon put in his right coronary artery because he was having a heart attack. They didn't do stents at that time. It was before they did stents. And the cardiologist, not liking primary care, asked me if I would take over his care, which I did. And Gene and I had a great relationship until he died in 2007 or 8. But in 1993, when he went from balloon to 5-vessel bypass, I realized I wasn't doing something right here. Western medicine was not making an impact in this man's life because he progressed on. Supposedly what primary care is doing today is maintaining chronic illness. I would suggest it's doing it quite poorly because chronic illness keeps getting worse for everybody being maintained by that methodology. So I spent a few years and re-educated myself. In 2000, while I was living in Bradenton, I got my geriatric certificate because 80% of my practice was Medicare. And in 2000, I got certified in holistic medicine because that was the only certification for people doing not conventional medicine. So since 2000, I've gone on to continue my education. I've learned how to do chelation therapy. I've learned how to do another way of looking at medicine, which I'll talk about today. Integrative is another term coined by Andrew Weil. Holistic is a term that simply means looking at the whole picture and taking care of a human, not an illness. Whereas integrative medicine is a way of looking at all the tools that are outside of the toolbox that a general doctor has. It was interesting, on my way over here, I heard a commercial. I listen to NPR almost always in the car. And I heard a commercial. What is it? How does it go? Prostate cancer survival without surgery. Come to the Deitoli Institute. I would suggest that there's prostate cancer without surgery or radiation, so why go to the Deitoli Institute? It's a pretty dangerous place. So this is about healthy eating and hydration, a little bit more than that. To give you a picture of what I do, contemporary medicine, actually, functional medicine is my new specialty. It's actually not really a specialty. It's really a way of shifting the paradigm from treating illness to taking care of humans and uplifting health. Because Western medicine, allopathic medicine, treats illness and not humans. Whereas functional medicine treats humans and illnesses go away. So in contemporary medicine, we start at the top. If you look at the tree, the functional medicine tree has up in the branches there lots of specialties. And my suggestion is that the specialists are trying to stick dead leaves back on the tree. It's a very difficult job. As we work down through the specialties into organ system diagnosis, where we say, okay, here's a cardiologist and there's a heart problem and you need this statin to fix that problem, it's pretty linear kind of thinking. Go a little bit deeper and we dig down into the signs and symptoms in the trunk of the tree. Whereas functional medicine takes it a little bit deeper because the tree needs nourishment. So we go down the trunk into the real world of medicine and look at functional disturbances that happen before you ever get illnesses. Things like assimilation, taking in your food or taking in your oxygen. You assimilate your nutrients through your lungs also. Energy, the mitochondria, the little unit inside the cells that actually burns the fuel and detoxifies the chemicals that are in your body, that's part of your energy system. And we have other systems like, is it going to work? Maybe not. Oh, it's stuck on. Doesn't really show in there. So communication system is your endocrine system, your hormones, like testosterone, that might tell a prostate cancer to grow more fast. So if you have communication errors, you might find things going on in the body that you don't want to have happen. And we look down deeper then into the antecedents, triggers, and mediators, things that make things happen in the body. An antecedent for colon cancer might be you have a gene that puts you in a family of people that get colon cancer. That's an antecedent. A trigger for that could be the red meat and the red meat fat that you eat that causes the process to go ahead. So even if you get an antecedent like a genetic predisposition, you don't need to actually develop the problem if you pay attention to why you have the predisposition and you avoid the things that actually trigger the disease that would come out of that predisposition. And then we go down into the roots, where we see sleep and relaxation, exercise and movement, nutrition, hydration, stress, trauma, relationships, basically the rest of your life. How do you support the tree? So functional nutrition is about actually looking deep into that tree, looking at all the deeper imbalances and trying to actually promote a real diverse diet that uplifts all the functions of the body. Because Hippocrates said it really well a couple thousand years ago. Let your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food. We are what we eat. I don't want to be a Big Mac. I have no desire to look like one of those things or to feel like one either. Kind of slimy and ugh. So one of the concepts we deal with in functional medicine is total toxic burden, the toxic threshold. We don't get ill unless we have the pot boil over. Our bodies are extremely resilient. God designed us to last 100 years well, but we do things that mess up that system. It's designed to run on its own as long as we feed and water it and care for it appropriately, but we tend not to do that because we have will, and our free will often guides us down really dark alleys that ruin our body, the temple that we're supposed to be walking around in for 100 years. So we start with genetic predisposition. So you have that antecedent, you've got your hand, your deck of cards. This is what you got to play with. You know what your hand is. In, what is it, Texas Hold'em? You don't get another card. So the genetics, your DNA is your Texas Hold'em deck. So you got to bluff your way through the whole life with this one deck. So you better be paying attention to what you got in your hand. So as you add things to that, nutritional deficiencies and dependencies are really important because if you lack enough good nutrition to run the system, it's going to run down. If you put too much nutrition in that overwhelms the system, it's going to run down. You see, we have an epidemic of obesity today. The obesity is causing high blood pressure, diabetes, heart attacks, strokes, and cancer because we have excess nutrition overwhelming the body. But actually, it's excess caloric nutrition and not necessarily nutrient dense. We're getting lots of calories, but not all the chemicals that run the system the right way. Add to that allergies and sensitivities. Gluten is a food sensitivity. It's not a food allergy. Gluten sensitivity causes celiac disease, causes cancer, heart attack, stroke, and Alzheimer's disease. It's a food sensitivity. If you have that food sensitivity, you should avoid it, unless you want all these other things like Alzheimer's disease. It just makes sense. There's no reason if wheat causes heartburn when you eat it or pizza causes heartburn to go out and take a purple pill to suppress the heartburn. It makes more sense to stop the food that's killing you. And as we go up the list, infectious agents. Each time we go up here, these things are more potent and more aggressive towards our bodies. Infectious agents, they come in and eat us. They upset the whole apple cart. Lyme disease is a chronic problem that upsets a lot of things. Chronic prostate infections can upset things too. And we have hormonal imbalances. Hormones are really potent things. And the wanton use of hormones in America today is really frightening. It should be stopped because it's highly toxic and it pushes things where you don't want it to. Testosterone has never caused prostate cancer and it never will. Testosterone, however, can tell your prostate cancer to grow faster. And that's why the anti-androgen therapy happens, because we want to stop some of that signaling that occurs. There's other ways naturally to stop some of that signaling. Estrogen actually is known to cause cancer. As it metabolizes the wrong way through the liver, if you put the wrong nutrients in and don't have a lot of antioxidants, you can create estrogen cancer-causing agents. They're called quinolayed estrogens. And so natural human estrogen, no matter how much level it is, can convert to that and can promote prostate, breast, and all other kinds of cancers. And then you can look at the environmental toxins. Xenobiotics, extra from biology. Xeno means foreign biology. So all those things we call fragrances, they are xenobiotics. They all have hormone effect and they cause problems. Sunblocks. I know you've all probably seen a dermatologist and he's told you to put your sunblock on. If it says oxybenzone on the label, know that you have something that interferes with testosterone and resembles estrogen and causes hormonal and glandular changes in your body and may even promote your prostate cancer to grow faster. So watch the label and think about that. Xenobiotics are dangerous chemicals. Anything that you don't know what that word is on the label of a food, remember, that's not food, so don't eat it. Psychosocial factors, big burdens. If you have stress, you can push the whole apple cart over. Cortisol is the aging hormone. It makes our glands change. But also, insulin is an aging hormone. If you eat too much sugar and your insulin levels rise, you actually stop production of testosterone, so you screw up that system. If you have too much fat, you also put off things like adiponectin, an inflammatory chemical, a signaling molecule. Communication goes awry with this chemical, and you stop producing testosterone. There's all kinds of interesting things that these exogenous toxins will do to our bodies. And social factors too. The stress just upsets the apple cart. Cortisol will just change everything, like I said. And then finally, endogenous toxins, the things that come from our own metabolism. When we eat food, when we burn fuel, we get smoke. And that smoke has some toxic effect. So we need systems in the body to clean that up, which is why we need to eat lots of antioxidants, why we need to exercise to clean out the toxins and keep things moving along. So total toxic burden. The more things you stack up, the more likely you're going to have something break down, like a cancer. So the concept of oncogenic potential, nice big words there. It really just means this. What promotes cancer? And you might want to hear line items like, oh, is it Roundup or is it whatever? But it's a broader concept than that I want to bring to you. Disturbances in insulin signaling. You eat too much sugar, you disturb the way your body responds, because insulin is a communicating molecule that says, hey, use up this insulin or use up that sugar. So sugar issues. Inflammation. Inflammation is the cause of most of our chronic diseases. Whoops. What happened there? So infection can cause inflammation. Yes, sir? I'll get to more specifics on diet later. I'm just trying to set up the concept. So we can have increased cell proliferation. That means the tumor is going to grow, 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 grow. What signals growth in the body? Insulin's a growth factor. There's also another one, thyroid. If the thyroid's screwy, you might promote your cancer to grow faster, especially if you have too much thyroid on board or inappropriately managed low thyroid. Genomic instability. So you have a mild cancer, Gleason 1, with abuse, exogenous toxins, low blood oxygen. You can convert that DNA into something really nasty and get a Gleason 9 out of it. That's genomic instability. We don't want to do that. Things that do that, xenobiotics. We bring these weird things in, like pesticides, into our bodies, and we risk further problem. Increased oxidative stress. That comes from too much food, not enough antioxidants, not enough exercise, things that will promote continued deterioration, like excess alcohol. More than 2 ounces a day, your liver can't metabolize. It builds up, and you have to deal with the toxic metabolites. Those cause instability and oxidative stress. And altered DNA protection. DNA needs to be covered with something called methyl groups. Methyl groups come from B vitamins. If you don't get your B vitamins, you don't get enough methyl groups. So if you lack your B vitamins, you can alter your DNA protection. And then a low oxygen state, what do you think causes that? Immobility, sedentary behavior. If you move, you pump oxygen through your tissues, and you bring up the oxygen levels, and every tissue is healthier. So sedentary lifestyle. So the Western diet is really a bad thing. The SAD diet is what my colleagues call it, the standard American diet. It's very sad because it's all brown, it's all tan, it's all gravied, and it has no rainbow of beautiful vegetables and fruits to build up the systems. Much of it comes from boxes. But the worst problem about this is that the standard Western diet doubled colon cancer recurrence rates. This is for something that's already been treated and gotten rid of. Why do you think that is? They didn't change anything. If you go in with a disease and you get a surgeon to cut it out, it doesn't mean you're cured. In fact, that's not a cure at all. That's just like, oh, that's a hiding game. You know, a radical prostatectomy is like, which shell can we put it under? Because really, we don't know that the pathology, the physiology's changed. We just know that some surgeon went in there and told you he cured you because he's God. But maybe he really isn't God. Metastasis, very similar to oncogenic potential. How do you get a metastasis? You know what metastasis is, when it moves from one spot to another. That's the scariest part of cancer. Again, low oxygen. Cancer loves a low oxygen environment because it changes to the metabolism that it loves called glycolytic, which means it eats lots of sugar. But no exercise for low oxygen. Nutritional challenges, too much red meat, toxins, fragrances, genetic activation, char-grilled food. There's an interesting one. Did you know that the black stuff on your grilled meat is actually a poison that causes cancer? That lovely thing that everybody seeks out from their charred food is actually the thing that is the worst problem. It's a polyaromatic hydrocarbon. It stimulates your liver to create toxins that are carcinogenic. And so we want to avoid char-grilled food. And growth promotion, sugar feeds growth. When a cancer is in glycolytic metabolism, it just loves to suck down more sugar. Diet and cancer risk. I did put it in color for a purpose. Red meat, red meat, red meat. Increases colorectal cancer incidence 35 to 85%. Pancreatic cancer incidence 27 to 75%. Breast cancer, it's terrible. And here's another one. High milk and calcium produces more cancer, prostate cancer specifically. So disturbances in functional physiology, that's what lifts you up, the way you work, the way you optimally are supposed to run. How does the dysfunction become a tumor? Chronic inflammation. Prostatitis is a chronic inflammation. How do you think we get prostate cancer? Unrecognized chronic prostate infection is one of them. Altered intracellular communication, hormone receptors. The xenobiotics come in there and play with the hormone receptors and can send inappropriate signals throughout the body. And so you end up with cross messages, cross signaling, and bad results. Decreased cellular energy, that's glycolysis. When the tumor starts to get starved more and more, or even a pre-tumor, a pre-cancer starts to get starved of oxygen, it starts to go over to glycolytic metabolism, which is unregulated, uncontrolled metabolism. And that means they love sugar, and they will grow, 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 grow. The more sugar you give it, the more it'll grow. It basically has no checks and controls like the other cells in the body when it comes to eating your food. And that's why people lose weight when they have cancer, because the cancer is stealing every bit of available food because it's in this bizarre sense of I get all the food metabolism. It just pulls it all away from the rest of the body. Immune weakness. Radiation can disrupt the immune system. So can xenobiotics. So can lack of good foods. So can lack of exercise. So poor nutrition and toxicity. Chronic bacterial and viral infections. You know we have Lyme disease actually in Florida from Florida dogs and Florida deer. It's just not well recognized because the CDC has a test that doesn't recognize the Florida bug. It's a different subvariety than the one that the CDC uses. So there's a guy from Shands at University of Florida in Gainesville that did a study in 2012 and showed that all the Georgia and Florida ticks cannot be recognized by the current test. So if you go to your doctor and you get a Lyme test because you think you have it, it's wrong. That's simple. You need to actually go and find a doctor who's Lyme literate to do a real Lyme test because there's other companies that actually look at a broader picture of it. Other infections, you know, if you get a cold sore, it's your friend for life. If you get chickenpox, you've got shingles for life. These viruses live in us and they stay with us and they cause chronic inflammation and degeneration. You get genital herpes, that's in the urinary tract. That could be promoting prostate cancer. The thing I'm trying to say here is there's lots of different potential promoters, but I'm not saying anything is a cause. I'm avoiding that because we don't know the cause for it, except that we know that when systems degenerate, they do the wrong thing. But all these things that I'm talking about build up the stress level to the point where it happens. We don't have a direct cause effect. There's only certain things that do that. You know, there's certain bad chemicals that will cause this cancer or that cancer. But in general, cancer is just the body is not communicating well. New protein composition. Well, what is the first marker that has been poo-pooed but still used for prostate cancer? Who knows it? The blood test. PSA. Only a woman could tell me this. So the PSA is a protein that the prostate makes. And so when you have altered function, you might have a PSA elevation. But you know, and you already heard this from your doctor, that a PSA elevation doesn't necessarily mean prostate cancer. It's a signal that something's going wrong. And maybe if the PSA is going up, that's a signal to you to change something so it stops doing that wrong thing. You need to communicate to your body in a different way because food is communication. Exercise is communication. So another concept, telomeres. You don't have shoes on. You don't have shoes on. Does anybody here have shoes with shoestrings? The end of shoestrings. You know that little cap? What's it there for? To stop it from unraveling. Your DNA is a long string of two cords wrapped together. The telomere is the end cap that keeps it from unraveling, keeps your DNA stable. Telomeres protect against genomic instability. And telomerase is the enzyme that repairs the end caps. So there was an interesting study that was done a couple of years ago by Dr. Dean Ornish. Anybody recognize the name Dean Ornish? Cool. Has anybody been to his website or read his book, Spectrum? No one. Well, there's an assignment. Reading assignment for the day. Go online and go to Spectrum, ornishspectrum.org, or read the book Dean Ornish's Spectrum. It's about his study in which he put men on a diet and lifestyle change regimen that actually turned back Gleason 6 and lower prostate cancer. No other intervention, which is why I said, do you really need Natoli? Maybe you could do it a different way by signaling to your body to stop doing this dumb activity that's harmful. So what he showed was that by just doing this comprehensive lifestyle intervention, he had increased telomerase activity and increased telomere repair. So telomeres got longer. So the genetics got stable and people got healthier. Again, altered gene patterns expression with respect to tumorigenesis, all kinds of really good things. And here's the study. And so what he did was a high plant diet, daily exercise, and stress reduction using meditation. It was that simple. And his high plant diet was actually vegan. No, it wasn't vegan. His original study where he proved that you can reverse heart disease with a vegetarian diet in 2 years, cardiac cath proved difference, published in 1997. He actually allowed people to have a little bit more meat in this one. You could have chicken twice a month, and you could have fish once a week. That was the total amount of animal flesh in your diet. And he actually basically reversed prostate cancer markers. Did not cure it, but he actually turned back the way it was working. So everybody got better. Everybody lost weight. Everybody felt better, lowered blood pressure, lowered cholesterol. But the best thing is 453 different genetic pathways related to tumor growth, protein modification, and protein traffic all got changed. Basically, he turned off the way the thing was living. Essentially, the cancer had no desire to be cancer anymore. So another one, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Breast and prostate cancer are very similar. And so the same thing comes true for a woman. Just taking a simple multivitamin. One multivitamin a day is all they did in this study to prove that telomeres got better in women with breast cancer. So home-based diet and exercise on cancer survivor, 5-year rates were much better. A tailored exercise and intervention program, not looking at any other outcomes than how you're doing, you just had less functional decline. So if you actually just do these good things for yourself, you'll feel better no matter what disease you have. Isn't that a better outcome? Having a thriving, really vibrant life despite whatever diagnosis somebody's given you? Vitamin D levels, cut colon cancer rates in half if you have higher vitamin D levels. Carotenoids, you know, the yellow, orange pigments in your carrots and behind the leaves in the spinach and the kale, they actually show that you have a 43% reduction in breast cancer recurrence. And there was another study, several studies that were done that showed that breast and prostate respond very similarly. So a high plant fiber diet, over 35 grams of fiber a day, actually resulted in a 30% reduction in breast and prostate cancer recurrence. If you do exercise 30 minutes a day, you get a 15% reduction in breast and prostate cancer recurrence. If you add them together and do both of them in a day, it's not an additive. You don't get 45%. If you do exercise and diet, you get a 70% reduction in recurrence of breast and prostate cancer, simply by eating right and exercising every day. Wouldn't you like that, a 70% risk reduction? Plus, if you add meditation to it, you get another 15%. So you're at 85% reduction just by doing diet, exercise, meditation. Phytochemicals. This is the hidden stuff behind the foods we're eating. The pretty tray back there just covered with a rainbow. That's what we want. We want those colors because the colors are the phytonutrients that change the way we live. The beautiful reds from pomegranate are elagitanins. EGCG from green tea or black tea is epigallocatechin gallate. It's an amazing molecule that changes the way all of our cells function. Genistein from soybeans, resveratrol from grapes, indole-3-carbinol and sulforaphane from broccoli and the brassicas, and curcumin from turmeric. These are all super potent chemicals, and every one of them has evidence that it actually turns back prostate cancer. Every one of them. I'll show you. Here's some of the studies, just kind of line item. Green tea, non-small cell lung cancer, breast cancer, resveratrol for colorectal cancer, and I have some more data on prostate. Genistein for a bunch of cancers, curcumin for breast, colorectal, neuroblastoma, vitamin A for the lung, D for the colorectal, lycopene. Everybody knows about lycopene. No? What does lycopene come from? Yes. What's the best way to get a tomato? Cook it down. You want concentrated lycopene. So it's something like 2 tablespoons of tomato sauce a day on average reduces your prostate cancer risk by 30%. It's some ridiculously high number just by eating a little bit of tomato. So soy genistein. Just a little aside on soy. Soy's not bad. You might read all kinds of idiotic stuff on the internet. Much of it produced by the American Dairy Council so they can keep selling the poison that causes prostate cancer. But soy actually reverses that issue. It also helps your heart too. In a little bit. It kind of lowers your cholesterol some. But here you have a graph of higher and higher concentrations of soy genistein. Genistein is just an isoflavone, a phytochemical that comes from soy. Prostate cancer growth just drops off as you get to the higher doses. Resveratrol inhibits prostate cancer growth. You can see in each one of these at different times and different amounts. Here are the different amounts. As you go across that way, the amounts get higher. You can see each one, as the amount gets higher, the growth drops off, resveratrol. Drink a glass of red wine. How much? I'll get a little bit into that. There's no specifics, though, because we're not talking cure here. We're talking effect function. So there's no specific dose response studies done because there probably isn't really a specific dose response because we're not isolating it generally when we're eating it. Sulforaphane, one of my favorite chemicals on the planet. Thank God for brassica vegetables. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, arugula, all these beautiful vegetables produce sulfated compounds. One of the most important is sulforaphane. So this article tells us about sulforaphane and how it changes the androgen receptor. So the androgen receptor is what's listening to the testosterone signal. And the prostate cancer puts out a lot of androgen receptors so it can listen to a lot of testosterone. But broccoli at higher concentrations stops the expression of the androgen receptor. So the prostate just goes, I can't hear you. So it can't listen to testosterone, so it will stop growing. So you're saving yourself maybe even some benign prostatic hypertrophy. You don't want the gland to grow? Eat some broccoli. So turmeric. Who eats curry? Only a couple. Maybe a good thing to add to the menu because turmeric is so important. But you can take it by supplement if you don't want to eat curry. But here again, you see across the board, as you get to higher levels of the turmeric, you get more prostate cancer suppression. And so turmeric's effective. It kills prostate. Oh, here's just a little slide of actually a turmeric extract that I use. You want to look for something that's really potent, 95% curcuminoids. Curcuminoids are the actual phytochemicals that come out of the turmeric that do the work. I'm not putting any labels up here. You can't see what brand to buy because I'm not selling anything, and I don't want you to know what brand to buy because these are potent phytochemicals. And I think you need to talk to a clinician to direct you in how to use phytochemicals as drugs appropriately because just buying the things that you think you need off the shelf and doing it without direction can be not risky to yourself really, but more risky to your pocketbook because you can buy a lot of stuff you don't need. And I've never seen a report of anyone dying from a nutritional supplement. Now, there have been people dying from those bodybuilding idiotic things like when they take too many stimulants. That's just stupid. But if you're taking 1 pill of turmeric a day, it's unlikely you're going to have problems. But do you need it? We should talk about it. Some kind of clinician who has a knowledge of nutrition. So you can see a licensed nutritional counselor, a holistic doctor. dietitians, depending on the one and where they got educated, because most dietitians really are more schooled in how to feed a population in a hospital than they are in how to take care of an individual's nutrition. And they have been rather purchased by Big Agra and Big Food, because the American Dietitians Association phone message system is answered by aspartame. Thank you. I am a nutritional-based doctor, yes. That's why I'm talking functional nutrition. So another area of concern, fitness. Got to move. Fitness reduces breast cancer. 48 studies showing it reduces breast cancer, lung cancer, and colon cancer. Thrival principles. Eat a rainbow. Always eat a rainbow. And not Skittles. Living things. A plant-based diet. So plant-based. You don't have to be vegetarian. You don't have to be vegan. If you eat 80% plant and 20% animal, you're in pretty good shape. T. Colin Campbell did a study, a book that was published, I think 10 years ago now, called the China Study. And many people base veganism on that. They're completely delusional. What his study said is that if you eat lots of plant fiber, you're healthier. If you eat lots of animal product, you're sicker. And so eat less animal and more plant, and you're healthier, is basically what you can conclude from the results of his work. And so I'm an 80% plant guy, as much as I possibly can. 20% animal, because I feel better doing that. The body works better that way. I can't even imagine eating a 16-ounce ribeye. The thought just nauseates me. It's just completely not on the human palate. But red meat shouldn't be on the palate of any human that has cancer. So thus, basically any human, because everybody has cancer. It's just that our immune system is able to get rid of it, or the cancer is so bad that the cell dies before it's able to reproduce. And so we all should be avoiding red meat because it's killing our planet too. So next time you think about beef, think again, because it's just the end of your life and the end of our planet's life. 80% rule, like I said, 80% plant, 80% or 20% animal, but there's another one. It's pushed back the plate when you're 80% full, because it takes about 20 minutes for your brain to catch up with belly. And so once you have decided that you've had enough food, in reality, and you can feel your stomach stretched, stop. Even if it looks good, tastes good, and your mom said, there's people starving somewhere, you got to clean that plate. Clean it right into a little container and save it for your next snack, because you don't need the extra calories. Yes, sir? The better choices of protein are the cold water fish, but you don't want to do large ones because you want to avoid the mercury, because mercury is carcinogenic. And all fish has the mercury in it, so you really want to be the smallest fish possible. Sardines, anchovies, herrings, small mackerel in cans. You definitely don't want to eat king mackerel out of Tampa Bay. That's, per Florida's recommendations, 1 4-ounce serving a month, which to me means never. I mean, just why would you do it if it's restricted to 1 a month? It's not worth it. No. And so, yeah, fish, chicken, but you want to look for organic chicken, because you don't want the chicken that has the arsenic in it, because they don't put pesticides and antibiotics in the chicken feed anymore. They put arsenic in it. And so most chicken has arsenic in it. Some companies don't, and you can actually go to it. There's a really great website called the Environmental Working Group, EWG.org. And I think that you got the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 there. That is their work. They go to the Department of Agriculture and get the stats on all of the fruits and vegetables that have been harvested in any one year, and then tally it up. The Dirty Dozen is the 12 fruits and vegetables that have the highest pesticide residues, and you need to avoid eating them unless they're organic, because you're eating poison, period. Strawberries that aren't labeled organic are poison. Celery that isn't labeled organic is poison. Iceberg lettuce is poison. And then there are several things a little bit beyond that. It's expanded to the Dirty Dozen Plus, because there's 3 more things that have not highest levels of pesticide, but the worst pesticides possible, and that's kale and blueberries, and there's something else. But if you go to the website, you can find it. Potatoes have the highest amount of pesticide per gram of flesh of any vegetable you can eat. They spray potatoes with fungicides, actually, to prevent the little black spots. Black spots. McDonald's French fries are a specific hybrid that gets the black spot pretty easily. The fungicide that they spray on this is done via a bunker with automated machinery. And when they harvest it, they have to do it in a closed cab wearing a respirator because the fungicide is so neurotoxic. It causes seizures in the harvesters. So they have to do it in a closed cab, dump the stuff in a warehouse that's the size of a football field, leave the stuff there for 6 to 8 weeks to off-gas the pesticide or a fungicide long enough until they can ship it to poison their McDonald's customers. And then it's safe for consumption. It's like Monsanto's edict from the University of Florida. Oh yes, as long as you apply Roundup as per the manufacturer's instructions, it's safe, except for the fact that the World Health Organization just said it's a carcinogen. So in no way can you follow manufacturer's instructions to make it a safe carcinogen. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Safe carcinogen, right. So organic and non-GMO, that's another part of the soybean issue. 97% of all soybeans grown in this country are sprayed with Roundup because Monsanto made them Roundup ready. And so all soybean products in this country that don't say organic are poison. Do not eat a soybean product that is not labeled organic because it's poison. I can't say it enough. Monsanto is poisoning our population for profit. All wheat products in America that do not say organic are sprayed with Roundup because the company that planted them wants them to die really fast so they can harvest them really fast and put a second crop in the ground so they can do 2 crops in one season and poison for profit. So now all our wheat supply in America is poisoned except for organic wheat. So you got to look for organic and you got to avoid non-GMO or avoid GMOs. And there's a thing called the non-GMO project, and it's a little floral design that shows up at the bottom of your packaged food designs. Look for the non-GMO project because you're supporting health of the planet. Because Monsanto's Roundup is killing the soil microbiome, which is going to stop then producing any food. Yes. That's right. And do you know what they're doing? This is a really interesting thing. We live in a psychotic world because for the last 8 years of Obama's presidency, I've heard the Republicans rail on the fact that there's a problem with, one, legislating from the bench, and then actually restricting states' rights. Have you heard that restricting states' rights things a lot? And yet, it's the Republican Congress that is actually planning on gagging the states so they can't actually have state-oriented anti-GMO legislation. Is this weird? I mean, why are they all for states' rights over here, but over here it's fine to take the states' rights away when Monsanto might be jeopardized? That's just a weird situation. There's just psychosis going on in Washington today. So dairy alternatives really is soy, but there's also almond milk, coconut milk, rice milk, all kinds of different things you can do out there to actually shift into a different way than piling on all the dairy. But I don't really hate dairy. I think a little bit of it's okay, but a lot can be really bad. I think dairy does have some value. Yes?
What about the study?
That's another one. Yes, the rice is all poisoned with arsenic, so you got to look for organic rice as well. So more things for thriving. Moving, aerobics. You want to do 20 minutes plus every day of movement. I don't care how you do it. You can walk, you can swim, you can bike, have sex. I don't care. Just have something where you're moving and moving some air and getting that blood pumping. Stretching is a very good thing too because flexibility is actually associated with longevity. The less flexible, the shorter your life. There are studies to prove that. Strengthening, obviously, 2 days a week of doing a bit of resistance training really helps, especially if any of you have been on anti-androgen therapy and have low testosterone. That means that you don't have some of the power you need to build muscles and to strengthen your bones. So you need to be on that. I have a guy that did get his prostate cancer diagnosis 5 years into using testosterone therapy appropriately for his needs, and he had to go off of it. And when he did, within a month, his blood pressure shot through the ceiling. We got that controlled, but he's been working out hard every day, and we've not seen one iota of movement in his bone density. So he's really vibrant. He's 78, and he's really holding on to his bone density with good exercise and good nutrition. More thrival principles. Relationships. You got to have a network. You got to have some people that you love. And I'm sure as life goes on, we lose some of the people we love, but we have a family of choice as well. People that we make friends, and even business associates. People that we can actually call on, lean on, talk to. Sleep is so critical. 7 hours a night is kind of a baseline. If you're not getting that, maybe there's something wrong with the system and we need to figure it out, because 7 really is healing, 7 plus, in fact. About 50 hours a week is really shown to make the brain function optimally. There are certain subpopulations that don't need as much. And there's been recent studies that show that, yeah, it actually may be a little bit more varied than that, but it seems like the average is about 7 hours a night. And for water, we need clean water in a ½ ounce per pound per day. It's a lot more than you might think. But if you get a quart in before noon and a quart in before dinner, you basically covered your needs for the day for an average-sized adult. And it's better to do it a quart before lunch and a quart before dinner, because that way you don't have to be up all night peeing. So just do sips at night. And then multivitamin, fish oil, probiotic, vitamin D, and some homeopathic drainage. Drainage gets rid of toxins. Dieta is a Greek word that we bastardized into a little word called diet, and it only means what you eat. But dieta for the Greeks, for Hippocrates, is everything about you. Where do you live? How do you live? What kind of work do you do? Who do you play with? How do you play? How much do you eat? What type of things? If you look up here, here's 6 meals for the day and even a bedtime snack. And across here, we have our rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, black, and then white, tan, and brown. You see how the white, tan, and brown are only one category out of all 8 categories? It's a limited amount. That's bread, oatmeal, and milk. Way down there at the end. It's like the last thing to think about. The first thing to think about is reds. How about some nice strawberries to start your day? Or some tomatoes. Organic, of course, and organic tomatoes too, because they're up on that pesticide list too. And the Jews, the Israelis, have this really great breakfast called shakshuka. It's actually tomatoes poached in eggs poached in a spicy tomato sauce. It's really delicious. What a way to get your lycopene and some vegetables to start the day. And then down at the bottom, all these things that are really important. Again, we document. Keep a diary of what your life is doing. You may even find, if you keep this diary and you have a symptom, you may find that, oh yeah, that food is what caused that symptom. Or maybe I didn't get enough sleep last night and I was really irritable the next day. And things might start showing up as you keep tracking things. But we track all kinds of things, like the exercise and the movement, the stress, and relationships. Supporting and non-supporting. Who in here has had a non-supporting relationship? Oh, I don't see enough hands up. We all experience those people that aren't really very helpful to us and can be detrimental. Leave them behind. They're not worth it. If they happen to be family, it's difficult, but you don't have to answer the phone. When you look at the plate, really is fruits and vegetables, grains, a little bit of dairy, oils, spices, and probably sugar should be in there, really, a little dairy off the side, and some other alternative protein sources. Peanut butter, beans. Beans are a great protein source. Fish, tofu, poultry. This is from a great initiative put on by the National Council on Aging called Aging Mastery. I just did a lecture for them earlier this month. And if any of you are interested, think about it. Look at either Senior Friendship or Aging in Paradise. They both offer this Aging Mastery program, which is just great. There's a nutrition section, finances, there's 10 different weeks. You get a certificate at the end for having completed it, and they cover all kinds of topics. It's not just medicine. It's just like how to age well. It's really cool. So the rainbow. It's the Aging Mastery Program by the National Council on Aging. And out on Longboat Key, there's a place called Aging in Paradise. If you Google them, they have a really wonderful center up there. And I think that Senior Friendship did it last year. I'm not sure they're doing it this year. So yeah, we want as many bright-colored vegetables as possible. Tomatoes, carrots, broccoli, and then fruits, cherries, berries, peaches. You know, honeydew is a nice fibery fruit, but it doesn't have a lot of phytonutrition. It's almost white. You want those bright-colored things. Watermelon is just full of lycopene. That beautiful pink is all lycopene. And then I gave you the environmental working group up there and the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 information. So women who have more than 3 glasses of milk per day have 60% increased risk of hip fracture. Not decreased, increased. Milk is not good food for hip fractures. The countries that have the highest rates of osteoporosis are Scandinavia and America, and we drink the most dairy. It correlates. So it increases your overall mortality by 93%. We are the only species that sucks on the teat of another species. So yes, not good information there. Calcium. Watch what it does to prostate cancer cell growth. Up, up, up as you do higher and higher doses, more and more calcium. So stop your calcium supplements unless you have osteoporosis. What is a GMO? A GMO is a creation of evil. A GMO is a creation of capitalists who want to profitize on all kinds of things. Its intention originally, I think, was to actually really help, but they found a way to profitize on it, so why not? But a GMO, God move over. I think it's a bad idea, because who are we to screw with the genome that he created, or she? So basically what we're doing is taking the DNA from one species and inserting it into another species. And we're using viruses to do it. And if you think about that concept, it gets a little scary, because couldn't that virus then infect another plant? And isn't that what's already happening? As the plants that are Roundup ready, all the soybeans are put in the field, the viruses spill out, infect the weeds, and now we have Roundup ready weeds. And so we have to actually start adding DDT back into the mix to kill the weeds. Yes, they're actually getting close to DDT again because the Roundup's not working because they've used it too much and the weeds are now resistant. So, what foods are GMO? Soy, cotton, canola. Never even think of a product that has that poison diesel fuel canola in it. Canola is diesel fuel. Diesel engines don't need to run on gas. That's a total falsehood put upon us by ExxonMobil and the oil people. Big oil wants us to buy that, but we can run diesel on vegetable oil. So we could turn all that poison canola just into car fuel instead of putting it into people and killing them. Because every bit of canola oil that you've ever wanted to taste has Roundup on it. So the daily dose, what you need is a good quality multivitamin, an omega-3, a D3, a probiotic, and your phytochemicals. And you can get your phytochemicals through good quality nutrition, or you can get that through supplements, or you can do it both. And in my case, I actually like to use both because I try to get 10 servings of vegetables a day, and I usually average around 7. And so it's really hard to get to what a 2,000 calorie diet for a guy who's supposed to be eating a plant-based diet really should be doing. It's hard. 10 servings of vegetables is a really difficult thing to get to in our world. And if we all tried to do that, there's not enough vegetables grown in America to do it today, because we grow too much soybean on those big industrial farms in the Midwest. So when you do phytochemicals, you want to get good manufacturing process and really have a good reputable company. You don't necessarily just want to buy it at the health food store without direction from a nutritionist or a doctor who does this stuff. And not many doctors do it because it's a really different way of thinking, because I'm not talking about curing illness. I'm talking about helping you thrive. That's not in the equation of Western medicine, which is name it, blame it, tame it. You got to have a diagnosis, blame that diagnosis, and bring out the big guns and shoot it and kill it. Not like that. No, I'm looking at you and seeing, how are you just not thriving? What specific things can we do in a short time to start that process getting better? That's really functional medicine. It's optimizing your function despite whatever diagnosis somebody else laid you with. So has this been recorded? Okay. And I'll answer some more questions when we're done. But essentially I'm done, but I could actually review some slides on how to look at labels of supplements if you want to do that. All right. So there's a multivitamin, a little complex, and it's hard to blow it up any more than this, but you can see a couple of things on here that I think are really important. Here we have third-party verified, good manufacturing process compliant. So somebody else looked at their vitamin. And then over here, brand name things. This is a really important one. If you ever see this gold label, this medallion on a good multivitamin or a mineral, it means that Albion Labs has been involved. Albion is the foremost world leader in chelated minerals. Chelated minerals are important because minerals are tough to absorb. And when you chelate it, it means it's been attached to an amino acid. And the amino acids have no barrier to absorption in the body. So if your mineral is attached to the amino acid, it gets sucked right in. And then your liver sees it and pulls the mineral off and uses the amino acid. So you got really good delivery of the minerals. So good, in fact, that Peru has no iron in its soil, so it has no iron in its milk or food. And people there are anemic a lot. So the government contracted Albion to put a couple of milligrams of iron in their milk. It's not tasteable, but the anemia went away because it's that absorbable. You use like 1/10 the iron you do that you normally would for somebody who has anemia, the kind of iron that makes people constipated and just terrible. It's horrible. It's not absorbed. So look for this. If you're ever getting a mineral, look for this medallion. And then very specific things about B vitamins. Active Bs versus non-active Bs, the synthetic Bs. Over here you see folate. Many vitamins will say folic acid. Folic acid is potentially carcinogenic. Folate is what the body uses, especially in this form, 5-methyltetrahydrofolic acid, 5-MTHF. MTHF is a genetic issue showing up a lot in the literature today, but just know that 5-MTHF is the folic acid our body uses, so why not use it? If your vitamin doesn't have that, why are you buying that one? Centrum definitely doesn't have it. In addition, the coating, that silver coating on Centrum Silver, has 4 different synthetic petrochem xenobiotics in it that are killing us. So why would a health company coat their product with something that's causing more problems? Makes no sense to me. And then here we have Mecobal Active. This is methylcobalamin. This is methylated B12, good stuff. Vegetarian caps. That way you know you're not getting like, beef hoof gelatin caps. You're getting something made just with plant fibers. So there's a lot of quatrafolic. This is the good folic acid. So you have evidence here that it's just really high quality, the best of stuff. Fish oil. This is the thing you want to look on fish oil. IFOS, International Fish Oil Standard. There is no higher qualification for fish oil. It is the cleanest fish oil on the planet. Even that one from Venice doesn't have the IFOS on it. You pay twice as much for the one from Venice as you do the one from my office, and it doesn't have IFOS. But it does come from the same company, because there's only 2 companies in the world that purify and package fish oil to the extent that I want in my product and the Venice people want in their product, that Omega Cookie people. That fish oil comes from 2 Scandinavian companies, because it's only in Scandinavia that you can get the level of processing ethics that produces the quality product that we're looking for, because the Scandinavians have been living on fish oil for millennia. They are adamant about the nature and quality of their fish oil. They will not allow it to be sold unless it's been tested for mercury, arsenic, cadmium, rancid fats, and toxic petrochem solvents. So you know it's super clean. This takes it to the next level, because even though those Scandinavian guys do a great job, this is a third party that says you can't beat it. Oh, and here's something else. All your fish oil packages say 1 gram or 1.2 gram on the front cover. Well, that's not what's in it, really. You have to look on the back and look at total omega-3 fatty acids. There's your money. 1 capsule, 967 milligrams. Sam's Club sells a clean fish oil. 1 capsule, 180 milligrams. Do you want to take 2 capsules or 12 a day? There's the question. Yes? Excellent idea. You can and you should. And, why not just eat salmon? So 3 servings a week of fish is actually really good, probably enough omega-3s. There's a company out of Alaska called Vital Choice Seafood. They have a little can of belly tuna, from small tuna, so it's lower mercury tuna. And the little 3-ounce can has 7,000 milligrams of omega-3 in the 1 can. You basically get a week's worth of fish oil for 1 little serving of tuna. What's it called? Vital Choice Seafood. Yeah, Google them. They're an amazing company. They have great seafood. Their sardines from Portugal are just out of sight. They're the best tasting sardines I've ever eaten. Actually, you can Google that. So the question is, are we concerned about canned products and BPA or bisphenol? Yes, we are, because that's a xenobiotic that will probably cause cancer. And so there are, like the Environmental Working Group actually looks at those things, and they have a list of companies that have BPA-free cans. You can just Google BPA-free canning companies. There's a whole list of the ones that have refused to continue to use the poisoned can product. So yeah, you do have to pay attention. Cheap canned salmon may be poison. That's a good question. When labels claim to be safe, I'm at a point where I don't have time to actually go back and then re-research whether the company that they say that they're clean I have to stop and trust at some point. Faith is what I've got to run on. And I think that there are a lot of ethical companies out here that want to provide a high quality product, and they do try to toe the line. And even at those points, some things happen. I personally believe that somebody poisoned the Chipotle food line because they are very ethical people and they try to protect their food. And I think that with all their anti-GMO rhetoric from Chipotle online, I think that somebody from the GMO industry poisoned their food to make them look bad, because they are so on top of their food safety that something really sneaky happened there. Sabotage entirely. These people with the money are out to end our voices. They want to stop us talking about how bad they are. I see really brilliant people like Bill Gates has bought into the Monsanto idea. He's trying to feed Africa with pesticides and Monsanto GMO crap. It's like, can't you think? No. So probiotics. You can buy probiotics anywhere, everywhere. Bacteria are on all of our surfaces. But if you want to get really good ones, you have to pay attention to the back label. Lactobacillus acidophilus, everybody's heard of acidophilus. It's the bacteria that everybody knows. Bifido is another one. But if you just see that on the label and nothing beyond it, you don't know if it's really the bacteria that you're getting, because there's nothing to document it except for a laboratory's colorimetric methods. They plate these things out, and if it turns yellow, it's this bug. If it turns green, it's that bug. If it turns blue, it's this bug. If it turns red, it's that bug. But this way, in the current lab technology, we're doing genetic straining. And if you look at this one, it says Lactobacillus acidophilus. After it says LA14. And we have BIO5. And here's one. It's even got a proprietary trademark name. How are you? How are you, Bifido? It comes into your colon and says, hey, how are you? I'm a really nice guy. Let's have good poops today. And honestly, I have watched people transform overnight with taking this kind of a quality probiotic. And so it has its own name too, HN019. That means the company that owns this bacterium owns the genetics of it. No one else can sell this bacteria, but they know this is the bacteria. They know it. And this one, I like this one. This is the one I take. It's only got 4 billion. Where is it on there? Yeah, total is 4 billion or 5 billion in the capsule. The other one is 30 billion. But so Lactobacillus helveticus. Helvetia is Latin for Switzerland. This bacteria is called helveticus because it was isolated from the poop of a Swiss woman in 1895. It has been grown in consecutive culture at the Institut Roselle for over 100 years. It has never seen antibiotics. It is a pristine heirloom bacteria that likes humans. And it really likes me. This is my probiotic. This is the one I take because I don't need a lot of probiotic. I just need a little. What this is information. The bacteria talk to our immune system and tell our immune system that it's okay to metabolize today. If you have the wrong bacteria there, the immune system gets all pissed off and everything goes awry. But with good bacteria, it goes right. So a good probiotic is really important. And that's how to read a label. Look for the name after the name. That proves that it's really the strain. Glucoraphanin. This is that broccoli extract, sulforaphane. Glucoraphanin is what's in the broccoli. It's very interesting, but your bacteria in your gut actually metabolize the glucoraphanin into sulforaphane. Sulforaphane is the active molecule that comes into your liver, into your prostate, and changes the way the metabolism happens to turn off prostate cancer, to turn on your liver so it metabolizes better, to clean up all your systems. There are 500 plus articles on the internet about this chemical that show positive effects in any cancer. At least 500 articles in conjunction with chemotherapy, in conjunction with radiation therapy. Turmeric will sensitize cancer cells so the radiation kills them harder. That was the study that I showed you. I didn't want to go into too much detail, but that was a radiation study. The cancer cells died off better with turmeric on board. They couldn't deal with the radiation. So, resveratrol. Here's some dosing. Transresveratrol and pterostilbene. Pterostilbene is like resveratrol. It's very similar. And pterostilbene alone can turn off prostate cancer, and resveratrol alone can turn off prostate cancer growth. So this mix, which is the resveratrol, actually mostly comes from red wine, but it also comes from Japanese knotweed, and that's a much easier thing to grow and harvest. And so, because people pay a lot of money for wine, they don't pay a lot for Japanese knotweed root. So it's an easy way to harvest more resveratrol. And quercetin is another really good chemical. It's the red in red onion, the red on the skin of the apple. Very good for vascular health and immune health.
That really sufficient, one capsule twice daily, and that does the trick with that amount?
Again, it does the trick in the sense that we're looking at adding lots of tricks because we're trying to lift up all the systems and we're trying to use as many interfering pathways as possible. So every bit of the rainbow has its own different effect exerted on the problem illness. So everything we do is another step in actually reducing that total toxic burden and increasing our thrival. Yes, ma'am. It is. Doesn't necessarily work as well with foods. I'm taking it right now because the oak is coming. What's that? Quercetin. This top line, oh, it's not there. Quercetin. And it's great for allergies. I'm taking it right now along with some stinging nettles because I'm sensitive to oak pollen and it's on its way. Any other questions, folks? Yes, sir.
Just 1 second. I want to ask that you use a mic because the video will not pick up your sound, and we are recording this. It's important to hear the questions. So I'm going to go around first here and then yourself, okay?
Doctor, can you tell us anything about hemp oil and specifically CBD?
Yes. I think hemp oil and CBD are nice, gentle. Well, so let's go. Hemp oil itself is a great food additive. It's a good omega, and you could use it in anything you want. The medicinal hemp oil, CBD oil, has some effect in seizures, and it may have some effects otherwise. But the disingenuity of our legislature to not allow medical marijuana products to be available and restricting it to stupid Charlotte's Web for just seizures is insanity. I don't know what is motivating these fools to deprive our population of a very valuable tool that has been used globally for thousands of years. I have no idea what their problem is, other than the fact that they're protecting the DEA because they like their jobs. I don't know what it is. It's a crazy thing, but CBD oil just doesn't do a lot. You need true medicinal hemp oil, and it truly does have some, just like resveratrol, just like turmeric, it has anti-tumor capability. And they are just in complete denial of it because it competes with the beer industry. Alcohol does not want to see marijuana released. Alcohol industry is fighting it tooth and nail. And we see what the prohibition from alcohol did. It created a mafia that owns alcohol now that has lots of money and prevents other people from doing things. Isn't it interesting? And we have the mafia of big oil, big chem, big agra, big pharma. They want to sell their product. And unfortunately, Benjamin Rush, one of the founding fathers, was a doctor, and his cohorts did not listen to him when he wanted to have medical freedom as part of the Bill of Rights. We now have medical fascism. We have to listen to what these schmoes say about treating illness and not about treating wellness. I know this Institute of Illness Treatment here is very good at treating illness, but it doesn't do anything to uplift health. It tries, and this health connection is one step forward. But I had to resign from this institution because they weren't doing anything health-related. I loved working here, but they wouldn't actually expand. Duncan Finley asked me in 2003, what's the future of integrative medicine at Sarasota Memorial Hospital? I said, Duncan, are you serious? It's not. Unless this entire group of doctors leaves, we're not going to have integrative medicine here. It's just not going to happen because they can't see beyond the end of their nose that health is much more than the absence of illness.
What about nuts? And do you think omega-3 and omega-6 needs to be balanced?
Absolutely. So nuts and oils. So I think nuts are great food. And we should all eat several servings a day depending on our size. There is good evidence that eating nuts reduces colon cancer. And nuts contain a lot of omega-6 acids, and some omega-3s, like the walnuts, contain omega-3s. A balance between all of your essential fatty acids is really important. So I do a test in my office to look at essential fatty acids in red blood cell membrane, so we can see what your constituent structure is made of. And we can look at the percentage of omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, saturated fats, trans fats that come from Crisco and the bad oils. That's been banned now, so we shouldn't see much trans anymore, but Yeah, so I think that balance is very important. And the way you can actually get your balance is by avoiding lots of grain, keeping that to the last thing you're going to add to your diet, avoiding the dairy, and avoiding lots of red meat. That way you keep omega-6s down. However, some red meat can have more omega-3s if we just do grass-fed meat, because grasses have omega-3s and grains have omega-6s.
We have time for a few more minutes for any other questions. And again, only for the video purposes.
To be very brief, you were talking about no canola oil. Would you talk about what oils to use in cooking? Most of us know to use olive oil and now coconut oil. Would you recommend any others?
Yes, absolutely. So the oils that I use at home are a variety because I like to mix it up and I like different flavors. Coconut oil doesn't taste very good with eggs, so I use butter with eggs. Olive oil is good for many things, but you can't do high temperature frying in it because it smokes at too low a temperature. So for that, I switch over to organic safflower oil. You don't want to use sunflower unless it's organic because all the sunflowers are now sprayed with Roundup in the field to make it easier to harvest. And so you got to do organic sunflower. And that's actually a valuable oil. My favorite mayonnaise is made by Hain, H-A-I-N. It's a safflower oil mayonnaise. It's really light. It's very easy to use. Grapeseed oil is a really clean, low-flavor oil that has lots of omega-9s in it, like the olive oil, which is really good for your heart. And the grapeseed oil is a high smoke temp, so you can do some sautéing in it. And you can do like stir-frying, really high temperature frying without having it smoke. A little bit of added non-cooked walnut oil, almond oil, peanut oil, sesame oil at the end of the meal to finish it and give it flavor is a really good thing too, to drizzle it over a salad, things like that.
Final questions before we go. One more question, and let's not quite go for just 2 more minutes. Our co-chairman here, David.
Just quickly, when you see a natural or natural label on a bottle or a cereal or whatever it might be, how much can we trust in that?
So labeling is a big deal, and labeling is something that is quite often used unethically. So when you look at a label, I had the misfortune of misreading my label the other day. I saw organic blue corn on my corn chip bag. And unfortunately, I was in a hurry and I didn't read everything. When I got home, it said organic blue corn, organic yellow corn, canola oil. Yes. And so it didn't say organic canola oil, and it is out there. And I might have been okay with it if it had said organic, even though I don't want to eat canola because of what it is. It doesn't work with our body very well. It's not an oil that fits into our structure, so we don't really want to eat it. But it was the toxic kind. So I had to throw that bag of chips away because I'd already opened it. I was like, I can't believe I did that. So you want to look for all organic. If the bag says organic corn chips, not corn chips made with organic blue corn. When they say it's made with, that means anything else in there can be made with anything else. So natural ingredients means they're trying to dupe you. Period end. If it says natural, don't buy it because you know that it's polluted. It's got pesticides or something in it that's wrong.
Well, we want to thank our wonderful speaker today. Thank you, Dr. Harvey. If you have individual questions, can they come up to you?
Sure.
He'll stay for anybody who wants to do a one-on-one with him, though. And please, with your permission, doctor, is it okay to have some of that cheese for those who want on their way out?
Absolutely.
Okay, you got the doctor's nutritional approval, so enjoy. Come again, March 21st on sexuality and prostate cancer.